write in the chat, I have 1 hour to talk about vision board. It's a 4-hour workshop that I usually do, vision board. So I had a meeting with myself last night, and I said, how do I best utilize this 1 hour? And that's why I said to Dupe, let's just look at the things that power a vision board. So right here, I have my vision board. I think my screen is blurred, so you can't see. I might make it clearer later and then show you later on. So I have my vision board and all that. And I mean, it's not so much about the board as much as what you put on the board and why you put those things on the board. And I think this will be my area of focus today. So let's get going. Use the chat. From time to time, I'm going to dip into the chat and respond to questions. I think we're going to be all muted while I present. And so that just to make the recording a little bit nicer, clearer, and all that. So goal setting for success is what I have titled this session, and I have put the vision boarding as a subset, because I was thinking, should I do vision boarding as the main topic and then goal setting as the subset? But I thought, no, let's do it this way, goal setting. And I'm going to be looking at my phone because I've put all the notes on my phone. And so I want to make sure that I keep on track so that I just don't yappa away. Okay, so let's go. So what are we going to do today? The first thing we're going to be looking at is, before we even talk about goal setting, before we talk about vision board, before we talk about vision at all, let's look at the person that brings to birth that vision or the goal. And I always say that, Michelle Obama a few years ago wrote a book called Becoming, because people are beginning to realize that if you have a fluke and you do something and it is successful and you have not become before you did, then it is not sustainable. In other words, you can have a success that is a fluke, right? Or you can be a person that is successful and thereby continuously create success. And I lean to this philosophy of, becoming, of being, of having stature, so that you can continually, through a systematic way of doing, or, connection. Of course, I'm never going to take away the God factor. I am very, very steeped in my faith, and I believe that God leads, but you can't become a person that continually does. And I say this, I know that there are people of different faith on this platform, which is great. And I always say this, that, my biggest gripe with people that like me, that are like Christians, are the fact that sometimes we just want everything to be supernatural, nothing to be born out of our thinking, our brain, our processing. And I always say that if God wanted it to be like this, the day we give our lives to Christ, he would just remove our brain, so that all that we're just going to be doing is just tapping and tapping, But so both of them have to be done simultaneously. You get the God factor as powering things that otherwise your brain cannot create. But please do not detach your brain from who you're becoming or what you're doing. So being before doing, anyway, I could talk about this forever. This would be another 1-hour workshop, but let's look at it in the context of goal setting. So a book that I like, Simon Sinek. How many people have, give me a thumbs up if you've ever heard of Simon Sinek and you've read the book Starts with the Why. If you've read the book Starts with the Why or ever heard of Simon Sinek, give me a thumbs up. I can't see the reactions. Nobody. Aha. So this is why you need to belong to a book club, so that you can become. So Simon Sinek, go to YouTube after this session and type in Simon Sinek Starts with a Y on YouTube. Look for the 11-minute video. That's the kind of like the one that really, really goes into detail about what his philosophy is all about. But basically, he was saying that many people fixate on what they do and how they do it, but not many people get to the core of why they do what they do. And he said the most successful organizations, the most successful companies, the most successful people are those that start with the why. So before you do anything, before you create a vision board, before you even write a goal, before you choose a career, you ask yourself, why. You always start with the why. Okay. Yep. Yeah, thank you. You have heard of Simon Sinek, so it is worth watching because it's powerful. I've read that book at least 3 times because every now and then, I want to remind myself to remember why I am doing what I'm doing. And apologies, I'm going to use a lot of biblical references. I think Dupe and I just checked together yesterday, and then I realized that it wasn't a Christian platform. So I'd written a few biblical references. And I always think that many people think about Jesus, how he died on the cross. We are going to celebrate Christmas and how everything happened. And the only reason why that happened was because of salvation of many. Okay, so all that suffering was steeped in the why. And I remember one of the scriptures that I like a lot. It says that it is because of this joy that was set before him he was even able to endure the difficulties of the cross and the pain that he went through. In other words, if Jesus, that was God, needed a why to pull him through, to take him to the end, then you need a why, if I can submit that to you. So I want you to begin to write on the first paper. I asked for you to bring a couple of sheets of paper. I want you to write in the middle of the first sheet in very big font, why, and put a question mark, and we'll come back to this paper later. Because as long as you continue to remember why, it will take you through the how and the what. Is that clear? So let's pick another nugget that we're going to look at. So after we have remembered the why, now the next thing is we then need to decide areas of focus that pull into this why. Many people talk about 7, many people talk about many areas of focus. I like to think about 5 areas of focus. I love to think of 5, meaning the grace and everything. And some of you might know, I've written a couple of books. I think have 4 or 5 books out there, I think. And one of the books that I wrote called 90 Days of Grace, I was talking about these areas of focus as being the driver for many of the what's that I put in place. Remember I said we start with the why, and on another sheet of paper, I want you to draw 5 columns. Does that make sense? 5. So make the paper landscape. Landscape, I'm using terms that I assume everybody knows. Landscape is when you hold the paper like this, not portrait, landscape, right? And draw 5 columns on the paper and put these areas of focus. We are just building, so like headings. So if you put 5 columns and then you put like a table, so you put headings there. And these areas of focus, if you were in front of me in a workshop, I'll be giving you all these materials to write, but hey, we can create our own by ourselves. So I wanted to put 5 because we're going to be populating these columns as we go on today. So the areas of focus that I believe are essential to driving anybody's why is, number 1, your faith. Your faith, again, research upon research, and I can begin to pull out even academic research for you, has shown that people that believe in something bigger than them have the likelihood of achieving things that are beyond, that are mind-boggling. Okay, so if you think that everything about you is contained in you, then the limitation or your expectation of achievement is only confined to you. However, people that believe in something bigger than them believe beyond their intrinsic ability, their self, and they can begin to see themselves even achieving beyond themselves because they think it's not just about me, it's about others. Let me give you an example. If I look at my account and all I have in my account is £100, right? And that is all I believe in. It means that I will never plan to spend more than £100. I will never buy clothes, my house, my rent, everything will not go beyond £100 because this is what I have in my account. This is what I earn monthly. However, if I decide to believe that my earnings, that my monetary what I call it, my monetary enablement or whatever goes beyond me to add that of maybe my husband, and I know that my husband has 500 pounds, it means that I can begin to think of myself not being confined to 100 pounds, but now being confined to 100 plus 500, which is 600. And this is why I always say that an area of focus is your faith, your belief in God or something, someone bigger than you, because it expands your mind and your capacity of what you dare to believe for and what you dare to believe to do. The second one is our family. You know, one of the people that I really, really like, one of the psychologists that I read about, and I mean, one of his most popular work, Maslow, is hierarchy of needs. And when we talk about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, on the lower layer, we have that need for physical things, you know, security, food, and all those kind of things. But kind of like when we get to the middle of the layer, it begins to talk about emotional needs and the needs for good friendships, family relationships that are tight, that are meaningful, and that drive us. And, you know, no matter how we conceptualize relationships, our family is kind of like the strongest relationship that we want to give to and we want to get from. So our family is also a key area of focus in defining what powers our why. Okay, let me not flog it. And then we also have fitness. Hey, you know, some of us will kill ourselves before the devil kills us. And I talk to myself when I do this. No exercise, we eat chocolates, we have bad habits, we do all that. And we need to begin to, I mean, with our brain, think about, if I had to design long length of life, how can I define it? By being fit. What do I mean by being fit? And being fit doesn't mean to be a size 8. Look at me, I'm not a size 8, okay? Not that I'm the model of fitness, but at least I try to be fit, to exercise, to get some steps in, to eat right as much as I can. So fitness is also an area of focus. Finances, because money does not buy you life, money, but it does give you choices. The amount of money you have in your account determines the choices that you dare to make, isn't it? So finances is also an area of focus, and also our future. Where are we headed? What do we want to see? So these are the area of focus that we're going to be looking at today in terms of goal setting. And I have spent time on it because I started in the previous slide with looking at the concept of the why. And so I wanted to tell you why these areas of focus were chosen and why they should contribute or tally with becoming. So now we know why we need to how or why or what drives the vision that we have or the goals that we have, which is our strong why. We know the areas that we need to focus on. Now let's begin to look at what we do in terms of vision and goals to focus these areas in pointing to our why. I hope that makes sense. So we have why we're doing what we're doing in one paper. We have the areas that we need to build, what exactly we need to do. And now we're going to be looking at how to create those goals to connect our why to all these areas of focus. Okay, so I hope I haven't lost you. I like to write on the board, and I wish I had a pen and a paper that was writing on the board in front of myself. So, of course, when we look at, when we start talking about focus, we're talking about goals, and we are talking about having certain things that we intend to achieve. Now, let me just do a quick exercise. Can everybody write a definition of goals for me? Okay. Can anybody write, what is a goal? What do you think a goal is? Just write it on the board, or Dupe, are we unmuting or typing? What is the best way to do this?
They can say it out, they can write it.
Okay, so if you want to say what you believe a goal is, yeah. No one knows what a goal is. Okay. A goal is an objective. Yes, thank you, Yossi. A course of action. Yes. Anybody else? Thank you, Annie. Course of action, Yossi, an objective. A set aim with a definite time frame. Yeah, thank you, Yetunde. I like that. What else? Okay, so a goal usually points to an end. It points to an end. It points to the end or our expectation of how we want something to be. And as Yetunde said, you know, according to a time frame. And yes, you'll see something that we want to achieve, yeah, but yet by a certain time. So when we begin to talk about goal setting, one of the things that powers goal setting is focus. You know, I wanted to put here a picture of myself doing a tree pose, an exercise pose, and a tree pose is what it's called. And I remember that I always struggle to do this tree pose, you know, when you balance like a tree and you do that and you lift one leg up and you hold that balance for a couple of minutes. And one day I remember somebody talking me through how to do this balance. And he said, focus on one point on the wall and do not shift that focus. And as long as you hold that focus, you would eventually balance. And I began to say to myself that, to have balance in my life, I need to have focus. So for my goals to work, they need to be focused as well. And I wanted to write down a couple of thoughts here about how to begin to get the focus and to get the clarity of our goals, or to make our goals work for us. Dupe, please tell me when I have 15 minutes left. I looked at my time and my heart skipped. Okay, so what is your vision? A goal should first of all start with vision. And then you ask, what is a goal? What is a vision? Are they different? Are they not the same thing? Many people use them interchangeably. Now, a vision is something that defines your why, your overall life essence, your purpose in life. For instance, I have a vision of being able to empower anybody that comes along my path. So that is my overall vision in life, right? My vision is so that when people come my way, when people connect with me, they leave changed, they leave transformed. This is my life vision, right? Now, the goals that I have will plug into that why, into that vision. How does it plug into it? For a season in my life, I ran MAP workshops. I wanted women that came into my space to leave transformed, even if it was on that day. And people that have been to my workshops will remember me saying things like, when I speak with you, I pray to God that you don't sleep that night, because I have said something that keeps you awake and keeps you thinking. That's because my vision of transformative encounters drives every goal I set. Now, I set a goal to go and do a PhD, get a doctorate, and work in academia, because I began to see kind of like a missing link in the way maybe youth are brought up in the university environment. And I thought, I can go here and make this my new segment that I target. That's my vision of transformative encounters with. Okay, so I set a goal to go and do a PhD, become an academic. I have a vision to be able to empower people that comes my way. You can see that this is the overall vision. And because of that, I earn a certain amount of money. One of the things that Dupe didn't say, and many people don't say that about me anymore, but it's still a huge part of my life, is that for 20 years, I did Mary Kay. I have done Mary Kay. Actually, on Tuesday next week will be 20 years exactly since I started Mary Kay. And people always said, Mary Kay, you don't even like makeup. And that was because through my Mary Kay business, from the day I started, 5% of whatever I sold every day, every week, every month went to a cause that I believed in called Beauty That Counts, which means I will beautify people in whatever way. So I did a restorative surgery for women in Uganda for like 5 years from my Mary Kay money. I did, now I do widows, you know, I sponsor widows. I do a lot of things with that money. So what drove me to set a goal to maybe sell 30,000 in a year was because I had that vision of empowering people along my path. And I felt I could use this money to achieve it. So I set a goal to achieve XYZ amount of money because it could power my vision. And why do I say this? People set goals in isolation. Remember, I talked about the why. Start with the why in the first place. And your vision for your life is very, very linked to that why. It is much as the same thing. Again, I'll borrow from the Bible that says that without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, the people run wild. Another version says, without a vision, the people cast off restraint. And I like that cast off restraint because it means that with a vision, people are curtailed, people are channeled right, people have life. It means that the essence of a being is the vision that the person has, which is linked to their why. And then someone is going to ask me a question: who gives you the vision? How do you get the vision? That is a whole new seminar for another day. But I got my vision from God. My interaction and my knowledge and my relationship with God birthed that vision, and it is clarified daily. Sometimes people tell you things that you connect with. Sometimes you look at what burns your heart. What is it that when you go to bed, you can't tolerate? What is that thing that on your dying bed, you will be wishing that you changed in the world? That is your vision. Again, it could be something that is linked to your passion, something that you enjoy doing, something that when people start to talk about, it just stirs up something inside you. Start with it. And if I could give you an advice, don't stay at a point of trying to find out this vision and stay stuck. Run with what you know and continue to go until it becomes clarified. I didn't always know exactly what I wanted to do, but one day I started to write, and that would take me to my next point of how you begin to get your vision. I began to write and I began to brainstorm with myself, and I came up with what eventually was my vision. So we're going to do that on my third sheet of paper. But before we do the brainstorm, can I just say that you should dream? Begin to imagine. Another book that I like is The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. Please write these things and then please go back. If you want to read a book to start the year, it's a great one to start with. The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. And Bruce Wilkinson was talking about the idea of somebody that wanted to become, he was a nobody and he wanted to become somebody so that he could make a change to those around him. And it's very poetic. The very first half is written like a fiction novel, and the second half has more like the instructional style. And I think both of them balance well. So dream, begin to imagine, think about your last day on earth. What would you wish you did? What differences would you believe that you made? What would you wish that you made? What are the things that if money was not an object, you would want in your life? What are the things where if you had no restrictions, if nobody was holding you back, you would do? Write it down. Continue to brainstorm with yourself and you will lead to your vision. When I talk about brainstorm, this was an exercise I did about 8 years ago, right? Was it 8 years ago? Yeah, 8 years ago. 8 years ago, it was an interesting birthday. Some would call it a milestone birthday. And I just wanted, some people say that whenever you cross a decade, you begin to have, what they call it, an experience that you want to connect with your purpose. They call it, there's a term that they give it, which doesn't come to mind now. And so I went away to New York for 3 days and I just wanted to find me, connect with me, re-energize me and to know what next to do. And I started to brainstorm. And I'll tell you what I did in the brainstorm. And you're going to start that brainstorm today. I wrote out 100 words that I believe described me. And I'm sure somebody is just screaming, 100 words. Okay, if you start out trying to write 100 words, you might write 50. If you start out trying to write 5 words, you would only write 2. Okay, so start out writing 100 and who knows how many you would write. It took me a number of days. Every time I thought about a word, I wrote it again. And some of you need to buy, I'm looking for my notepad that I carry around. It's like a small jotter. And I just used to carry it everywhere with me. When I think about a word, I write it again. Then after I typed everything out, I arranged it in alphabetical order. I began to look for the dictionary meanings of these words. And any one that I felt was very like me, I gave 2 ticks. And you know, like when you do a word cloud, the ones that were very, very more like me started to stand out. So, you know, you want to start with a whole lot of words, and then you want to start reducing it and reducing it. And you're going to get to a certain group of words that will tell you exactly who you are and give you an indication of your vision. Does that make sense? So many times we say, oh, come up with your vision, and we don't really tell you how to do this. Sometimes you need to do it through words, yeah? Some people are very right-brained, and some people are very pictorial. And so some people will prefer to do it. Oh, somebody has given us a free version of the Dream Giver. Interesting. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. You know, that's in the chat. So somebody has given you a link in the chat to download a free copy of the Dream Giver. So, hey, you don't even need to buy it again. So back to this brainstorm. You need to, you know, download things from your mind to get in touch with who you are. If you believe, you know, I don't really know what my dream is, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I should be focusing on, this is a good way to do it. Write and write and write. Then begin to streamline those words until you have about 2 or 3 that really jump out at you, and then that will help you to know who you are. I'll tell you 2 words that jumped out at me when I did this exercise: exploit and explore. Exploit and explore. And I remember then it was me wanting to help people explore. I wanted to help people think, to find out their uniqueness, what their strengths were, and exploit. Take that to a marketplace, help them to maximize it. And then I wrote there, oh, my vision is to help people explore and exploit their unique potential. And that started to drive me until my vision got clearer and clearer. Does anybody have any questions? I want to take 1 or 2 questions before we go to the end point, which is after clarifying your focus to help you sustain it. Any questions for me? Wow, this group is really quiet. Okay. Okay, so anyway, here on the screen, I have put what I summarized as goal setting 101. First of all, have your vision and link whatever goals you have to your vision. And here I am. So we said that a goal is something that is bound by time. And I'm sure you've seen people talk about your goal to make it SMART. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay, so some people say attainable, achievable. It's because, for instance, if someone says my goal is to pay school fees for 100 children in God's Grace Foundation in 2023, I would ask you if you've ever paid for 1 person. Okay, so your goal has to, you know, grow. So you start from something small that you can, in your own mind, see yourself achieving, and then you begin to expand. Your vision is something that you cannot quantify or achieve in your own self. But the goals that you set have to be things that are achievable. So again, let me talk about it this way. Your goals are like steps on a rung of a ladder to your final overall destination. Okay? And when we look at goals and vision, whereas the vision is the overall driver for my life, goals are things that are time-bound, and I recommend that they are done yearly. So when people talk about vision boards, and I know someone has said to me, Doyin, if it is a vision board and it is about my vision, why do I need to do it yearly? It's because you put your vision in the center of the board, and the goals for that year are around the vision board. Okay, and that's to make sure that whatever goals you're setting are tying to your overall vision. I'll say that again. A vision board is that pictorial representation of your core vision and the goals that you want to achieve for the year that you're setting the board for. So every year you create new goals that plug into your vision, and those goals are things that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound within a year. And in what areas do we set the goals? in the 5 focal points that we talked about earlier. Remember, we wrote an idea of our vision, our why, and then we went and drew those 5 columns. And what I want you to do is look at the goals that you can achieve in your faith life, in your family life, with your finances that point to your vision. Does that make sense? And this is what you write on your vision board. Okay? And that's why I wrote, link to your vision, make it smart, and decide the bite-sized 2023 ones that you're going to achieve. Because I don't want you to be thinking too far back. Some people say, oh, can I do it quarterly? No, I say set your goal for the year and take stock or revisit your progress quarterly. So your quarterly brainstorm or meeting with yourself is to review how you're doing with the goals, but the setting of the goal will do yearly. Do you have to do it on the 31st and do it for the calendar year? It's up to you. My husband always says that his own year is from his birthday till the end of that birthday. So people have different things. People like me that maybe we are lazy in our mind, we just use 1st of January to 31st of January, no complication, no confusion, right? And yeah, and then we use that as our year for the goal. Okay, so everybody now knows how to set goals and what to set goals for, right? Yes? No? Dupa is nodding, so I'm going to guess everybody is nodding as well. Okay. So after we have set the goal, how do we sustain the focus? How do we sustain the focus? Okay, we sustain the focus in the following ways. I wrote a book called Grow with Goals in 2018, I believe. I like the book. I'm going to talk about it later because I will use it to wrap up. And one of the things that I got in my heart as I was writing that book was this idea of engaging your senses when you set a goal. So we have faith goals. So my faith goals, I'll give you an example of a specific faith goal. My specific faith goal is, for the past 3 years, I have tried to read through the Bible in a year. And I didn't say study the Bible in a year. I said read through because there's a difference. Studying means engaging, looking at it. Read through just means going through the pages. So because I got it into my head that if I continue to read it every year in a different version, like this year I did NLT, in 2023 I'm going to do NKJV version, I will begin to now know the wordings. And if I know the wordings, then it will automatically begin to guide me in decisions that I make if I have those scriptures in my head. So I mean, the goal that I then set will be the fact that how am I going to read it? Am I going to use audiobook, which is what I did this year? I also decided in 2022 to use this Bible Project, because Bible Project, they give you the context of the book before you start to read the book. So I wanted that context as well. So you can see that it's now specific. How am I going to read this Bible? What are the tools I'm going to use? When would I do it and all that? Those are the specific things I put around the goal. So those are my faith goals. Another of my faith goals was to connect with and engage in a prayer ministry, because I felt that that was an area of my life that I really wanted to shore up. So I did. Okay, so those are my faith goals that I have, things that I want to do faith-wise. Now, family goals are different. Maybe my children are on different seasons of life. They have key exams. Maybe it's a particular amount of time I want to spend with them, one-on-one, monthly holidays that I want to take with them individually. Those are going to be family goals. Then with finances, I could decide on an amount I want to save by the end of the year that plugs to my vision of empowering people. So I can then break down that total amount I want to save into monthly savings or weekly savings. And then I realized at the beginning of the year that, oh, with my earning, I couldn't save this thing that I wanted to save and still be happy. So I decided that I was going to take on an extra income producing activity to plug into that goal. So can you see how your goal begins to drive your action? So you start with, this is my vision. Okay, this is what I need to achieve as a bite size of my vision for this year. And you now allow it to inform your actions. I'll come back to those informing of actions in a minute if we have time. But now let's go to how we can sustain the focus. Make sure that you engage your senses with your goals. Speak it continuously. Okay. Do not say negative things about the things that you have planned as a goal. I had a fitness goal to walk a certain amount of kilometers every month. So every month, whatever happens, I have to do a 50-kilometer walk. Not at once, maybe I'll do 10 5Ks or 5 10Ks. I have to. In addition to my normal walking around, a planned walk that I start, measure, and it's 5K. And then I got Strava to help me measure this, okay? So what I refused to say to myself when I started this goal was, I stopped saying, I'm so unfit. I easily get tired. My body just feels like it's heavy. I stopped saying it. What I started saying was, I'm fit. I love walking. I use every opportunity to build my steps count. So I continue to say it so that my brain begins to believe it and then begins to act. They said that psychologists have said that brain cannot differentiate between make-believe and reality. And if you continue to do things that are make-believe, it will trick it to believe that it's reality and continue to act with it. So you have to speak it to yourself consciously. You hear it repeatedly. And how does this happen? When I write my goals, I write out all my goals for the year, okay? And I then say those goals in a positive way. I will walk 50 kilometers every month. I will save £1,000 every month of this year. By the end of the year, I will have impacted 20 widows' lives significantly. So these are the goals. You can record it. Use your voice recorder, record it on your phone. And when you're down, in your high moments, in your low moments, play it to yourself. In your own voice, it is telling you what you are going to do and what you are going to achieve. So you engage your sense of your mouth, right? You engage your ears, and you engage your tactile being. Write it. I think it was Brian Tracy, one of his books on goal setting that I read ages ago, that talked about getting a goal notebook. He said, write your top 10 goals every day for 30 days at the beginning of the year. So you get a small notebook. So you set your goals, you've made them specific, you pick the top 10 goals for the year. And every morning when you wake up, you write out those goals without looking at the previous page. The next day, you do the same thing, and you do it for 30 days unbroken. Because what he said was that he found out that when you do this for the 30 days, it imprints in your mind and directs your course of action. He found it to be the most effective way of the goals that you write happening. I'll repeat that. A notebook, your top 10 goals, and you write it every day. So you wake up, you don't look at the previous page, you write it. What I found the first time I did this was I was writing the goals and they were all in different orders. By like the 10th, 11th day, I started writing these goals in the exact same order. What that means is that it had become a part of my subconscious. And when it becomes part of your subconscious, it automatically directs your every step. Okay? And the fourth thing is keep it before your eyes. Okay, so keep it before your eyes so that those that see it and even you will run with it. Okay, and I'm just going to look at the charts quickly because this will segue to the vision board. Okay, thank you, yesterday. Soaking in the nuggets, download the PDF version. Yeah, I'm just reading the chat to see if there's anything I need to respond to. Well done, Ayola. Well done. Okay, so let's move on to keeping it before your eyes, because Dupe really wanted me to talk about vision board. And one of the ways that you can keep your vision or your goals, if I say vision or goals, you now understand what I mean. The vision is the core and the goals are the ones that you're going to achieve in the year. But sometimes I'll just call it vision, right? So it's creating something called a vision board. I found this online. I like the way the bubbles were. I wish I had one that had 5, faith, family, but I mean, this is also nice. Okay, if you look at it, you can still put them together. For instance, like relationships and personal relationships and family are very alike, and all those kind of things. So you can still put them. The idea of it is that you have a plain board and you write your vision in the middle. right? That core thing, those key words that define you. If you want to substantiate it with a scripture or two, put it there so that it drives you, okay? So what you can see is that this one says here, because this year, my key focus was my family, because even among the 5 things, there might be one thing that really, really stands out for you for that year. Maybe if you look at the previous year, you just think, oh, you know, my fitness game has been 0. So I'm going to, even though I'm going to have all these 5 areas of focus and have 2 core goals for each of the areas of focus, the key one would be my fitness. So here, that year, family was the key thing for me. Let's see. Let me see if I can show you. This is a few years back, so I think it's, how do I do it? I stopped blurring my background. Is it better? Okay. So you can see here, it says here, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It has a picture of me and my husband, family meals and holidays with the children, redesign of the family. So things, so that was the core of my vision for that year. And then there were other things, okay, what I wanted to do with my career, friendships, and prayer. Even the hairstyle I wanted to have that year was there. So those were the kind of things that I was doing with my vision that year, just to give you an idea of the vision. And, you know, even sometimes when we have this, I use, if you notice, the previous year I'd used the back. So I used one vision board for 2 years. Yeah, I just flip and flip it there. So what you want to do is you want to put your overall vision, a few words that describe that vision, maybe a scripture, and then you put these bubbles here, and then you begin to, in pictorial form, represent the goals that you have set. Why do we need to do pictorial form? People ask. Okay, so I'm not a psychologist, but I know that people talk about the right brain and the left brain. They talk about the left brain being analytical and all that, and they talk about the right brain being the creative side. But one of the things that I agree with and what I have come to know is that you need to have a marrying of both of them for optimal performance. So you need to have engaged both your right brain and your left brain. So even those of us that are pictorially challenged, thank God for Google. Go to Google, type in the word. If you write 75 kilograms, or, okay, maybe you want to start cycling for fitness. So write lady, beautifully dressed lady on a bike, or on a bike, and it will show you, when you write those words, click on images, it will show you so many images. Cut the one you like, print it, and then stick it on your fitness. Do you understand what I mean? Because I remember when I put cycling, learning cycling as one of my fitness goals, I didn't just want all those people that look like they're serious cyclists. I wanted the one that looked like a funky woman that had no care in the world, because that was my vision of myself, that even if I must do this cycling, I must not do it like it's stressing me. I must do it like it's enjoyable. Do you understand what I mean by your vision driving even the goals, the pictures that you choose, you know? So if I want to pick a redesign of a house, I mean, anybody that has ever been to my house or has come to visit me, I really love a clean, clutter-free house. So I'm never going to put a picture of a house that has a lot in it, because that doesn't tie in with my overall sense of being or my vision. I will probably put something that is very, very minimalist, because that's my sense of style. So do you understand what I mean? So pick the pictures that inform what you like and what you like to do. And so once you pick the pictures, you begin to stick. I thought that it would not be a good use of our time for me to get us to start sticking it here. But on one of the sheets of paper, I want you to write in the middle, maybe in pen, my vision is, and then draw this 5 bubbles around it, so that later on you can write the kind of pictures that you're going to put in those bubbles. And when you buy your big board for your vision board, then you kind of like know exactly what you're going to put in it. So I'll say that again. On one of the sheet of paper, so paper, I think we're on paper 4 now, write my vision is, yeah, in the middle, and then draw this 5 bubbles, and later on begin to write what your goals, just one word for those goals in those bubbles are. That will tell you the sort of pictures that you're looking for, right? Then you will spend time looking for the photos, And then later, when you buy your big board, which you can buy in Tesco, I think we used to buy £5 in Asda or something. Okay, some other people make it a collage on their desktop. I know that somebody in my house that will not mention their name uses it as their background. So anytime they switch on their computer, that's what comes up. So every day they see it. So I think it's getting a bit outdated to hang things on the wall. Yeah, technology has helped us. So you can still use this idea to create a digital form of your vision board that you then look at. So you can have it as your desktop or background on your computer, or you can have it as a background on your phone, or just save it as a file on your phone, and maybe every morning engage with it, look at it for a minute before you start your day, so that it imprints in your mind, it drives you, and it will be a way of sustaining your focus. I think I have 10 minutes more. And so I said I was going to wrap up with grow with goals as a means of sustaining your vision. At the end of the day, a goal is not worth your while if it does not grow you. This is my submission, and this is my thinking. This is, and somebody, I think it was yesterday that said that she has read Grow with Goals. I hope it was helpful. It was one of those things that I just wrote in a time of my life where I was like, what is the point of goals? When so many people set goals, and it is kind of like almost negatively impacting, because they set these goals, they do not achieve the goals, and they even become worse off at the end of the day. What is the point of it? You know, I felt that I was having that conversation with God as far, what is the point of it? And it's like, because it keeps you reined in, because it gives you life. Now, go on. What I want you to do, Doyin, is to brainstorm how you have achieved goals and the goals that have been worthwhile, and show people how you did it. And that's how I came up with Grow with Goals. And I said that Grow with Goals, grow is an acronym for me, and G means set the goals, and that's what we've been talking about for the last half an hour. After you have set the goal, resource yourself, which means ask yourself, how can I become the person? Remember, we said being before doing. That was where we started. How can I become the person that can achieve this goal? So if I wanted to be a university lecturer, I needed to resource myself with a PhD, okay? And so I went on and set a goal for how to achieve that. If I want to be someone that gives £1,000 to Dupe's charity for educating young girls in Africa, then I needed to earn enough, become the person that will do the goal. So the whole R is about resourcing yourself, consistently looking at the gap. And again, GAP is one of the acronyms I wrote a while back. And I said, a gap is simply asking yourself, what do I need to gain? What do I need to avoid? And who do I need to partner with? So gain, avoid, partner. So as long as you're constantly asking yourself, to achieve this goal, what are the gains I need to make? What are the things I need to avoid? Like eating ice cream every day if you want to be fit is an avoid. And who do I need to partner with? And partner with takes me to the next one, which is getting organized, optimized, there was another one I wrote yesterday, organized, optimized, or that's not how I wrote it in Grow with Goals, but I liked it when I was observe and align. So what do I mean by observe and align? So a pregnant woman who is in the key stages of her pregnancy, even though she goes for a barbecue, might not eat things from the barbecue grill or eat certain things because she has a goal of giving birth to a baby. So sometimes, even when we avoid, it's because we're trying to align with something that will contribute to our goals. So if I have a goal of spending 30 minutes every morning connecting with God, praying, then I might not sleep till at 4 a.m. I might sleep early so I can wake up early and achieve those goals. So remember that organizing is about optimizing and observing and aligning to what your goal is. And I said the last thing is work. Many of us just talk, and we never take the first step. You know, one of the things I also said about setting a goal was sometimes we have this vision that could get us snowed under because we cannot operationalize it in a way that we do the first step. So, you know, you might not be able to achieve what you want to achieve now. You might not be able to save the £1,000 a month you want to. Can you please save £10 and then move on to 50 and £100 and celebrate your goal? Do an activity, work, work towards that goal. And before you know what is happening, the goal will come to fruition, or the goal will appear organically. I hope that you've been able to get one or two things. And what I then want you to do is, I want you to go back to the things that we've talked about, certainly the 4 papers that we've started with today, and I want you to populate it. I wrote a few quotes here just to end with. What you do not make provision for will continually interrupt your life. So if you do not make provision for something, it will continually interrupt your life. So if you do not make provision for your core areas of focus that we've talked about today, your faith, your family, your fitness, your future, your finances, it will continually interrupt your life. So think about that as a reason why you might want to set a goal or have a vision. Tomorrow is the favorite word in the dictionary of a person that will never be. Tomorrow is the favorite word in the dictionary for a person that will never be. In other words, if you continually procrastinate and you do not work what you can today, you will never be. You have to seize the moment, you have to seize the opportunity, and you have to do what you can to be today so that you can create a better tomorrow. Remember that the why is the driver, the how is important, but what you do is going to only be tangible, is only going to be meaningful if it connects to your overall why. Thank you very much for listening. I'll take a couple of questions.